Good evening. Welcome to the Massillon City Council meeting for Monday, December 2nd, 2024. We have in attendance with us tonight the following city officials.
Safety Service Director Renee Baker. Here. I don't have my sheet. Economic Development Director Ted Hernkane. Here. City Engineer Alex Pitts. Here. Income Tax Budget Director Lori Katagides-Boron. Here. And Chief Counsel Earl Wise Jr.
Here.
Is there anyone from administration I missed? That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 5 on tonight's agenda is where the public can speak on any item that appears on the agenda. And then item number 17 is where the public can speak on an item that does not appear on the agenda as well. At this time, I want to remind everyone with cell phones to please turn them down or set it to vibrate. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Brian Huth.
Here.
Creamer.
Present.
Cunningham.
Present.
Gregg.
Here.
Howard Smith.
Here.
Lewis.
Present.
Lombardi.
Here.
Hackley.
Here.
And Ray. Roll call of 8 present.
Councilman Lombardi.
Thank you, President Slater. I'd like to make a motion that we excuse Councilman Ray this evening.
Second by Councilman Gregg. Roll call, please.
Creamer.
Yes.
Cunningham.
Yes.
Gregg.
Yes.
Howard Smith.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Lombardi.
Yes.
Hackley.
Yes.
And Brian Huth.
Yes.
8 yes to excuse Councilman Ray.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Tonight's invocation and Pledge of Allegiance is by Councilwoman Cunningham.
Please stand and join me in the prayer. Dear Lord, as we gather here to guide our city, let us remember to open our minds. Let us be guided by understanding and justice to make the best decisions for the people of our city. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4, reading of the journal. Madam Clerk, are the minutes of the previous meeting transcribed and open for public viewing?
Yes, they are.
Are there any additions or corrections that need to be made?
No, there are not.
If not, then the minutes stand approved as written. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
Item number 5, remarks of delegations of citizens to matters on the agenda. This is the part of the agenda where the community may speak on any topic that appears on tonight's agenda. If you'd like to speak on something on the agenda, please come forward, state your name, the ward you live in, the topic you wish to discuss, and please limit your comments to 4 minutes or less. Please keep in mind as well, there will be no personal attacks on anyone present or non-present. You may, however, address a department or a position. Remember that this is not a question and answer session. And when you have finished, please sign the sign-in sheet on the counter and leave any prepared statements for our records. Is there anyone present at this time that would like to speak? Seeing none, we move forward. Item number 6, new and miscellaneous business.
I have nothing.
Item number 7, introduction of ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 119-2024.
An ordinance amending Section 2D Occupation List of Class Titles of Ordinance Number 127, 1997, to increase the class grade pay schedule for the golf course ground superintendent within the 920 Golf Course Department from 14 SUN to 16, the range of 14 SUN and 16 SUN, changed to 20 SUN to the range of 21 SUN, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Gregg.
Thank you, Mr. President. We discussed this with Mr. Pedro in our work session last week. He'd like to bring the pay rate up for their director of golf course, or I'm sorry, the ground superintendent, to be comparable with that of similar positions in similar horses in the area. This was voted on by the Parks and Recreation Board and passed unanimously with a 5-0 vote. Any questions or discussion? Mrs. Hardwick-Smith.
Thank you, Councilman Gregg. I had a call from a concerned citizen, and her concern was, and Ed, you may have gotten a call too. We're going from 14S to 20S to 21, and I know the concern was to get his pay up to comparable, and I'm okay with the pay. The citizen's concern was when you're going from a 13S to a 20S, is he going to, what's that as far as like vacation and benefits and weeks? And if he quits and he's only been here 10 years, does he get paid out like benefits of someone who's got a 21S when we do this? When we're giving him years of service that he doesn't have? I can see increasing the pay, and he's the only one who has that grade under there. I'm just wondering, can we raise the pay without raising that, or what's included?
Councilman Lewis?
I think, and we can call Lori up as well, but just to make sure that we're all, the classification and the years of service are two separate things. So he's already at 30, I believe they said something like 30 years of service. That is not his classification, so his, and Lori can correct me if I was wrong, his earning of vacation would be based on his years of service, not on his classification, so that would not be impacted by this move. What would be impacted by this move would be the range in which he's able to earn his pay, because it would bump him to a slightly higher range. Pedro did tell me, he called me this week and let me know that he was only, this person, though the range would be up to 21, it would only be a 20 for this particular person. If you want more detail than that, then I would have to defer to
Correct.
Lori or the Safety Service Director.
So to clarify, so you're saying the years is, so he's,
Microphone, please.
I'm sorry. So he was given 20 years of service when he started.
Okay.
Been here 10 years. So now he's a 30-year employee?
I don't know the particulars.
And I'm just wondering, like, when we do that to people and we automatically, I can see giving the pay, but when we automatically give them years of service, and then if they leave, are they like paying out on that?
Councilman Lewis?
I would also, I hear what you're saying, but years of service, and like I said, and classification are different. I also have always touted, in my opinion, this council needs to look at the position the person holds, not the person that holds the position. And if the position the person holds warrants a 20S, then that is what should be granted, because that is what that position is warranting, regardless of who is actually in the position and any benefits or lack thereof that they may or may not receive. That is the position I always take on these, because I think when we get personalities involved, we are making decisions based off of a short-term window instead of the long-term projections of what's best for the city.
Councilman Kramer?
I think we need clarification, because I don't remember hearing he was given years of service. He had 10 years here, but he has 15 years in the business of doing what he's doing. So somehow I missed if we gave him 20 or 30 years of service.
That's, so Steve's not here. I was told that he was giving 20 years of service when he was hired. So now he's been here 10 years, so now he's got 30 years of service.
I think we
So
need,
30 years of service, is he getting like
Yeah.
5 weeks vacation? Or if he went to someplace else, are we paying out someone who got 30 years of service, getting them that lump sum check when they leave, as opposed to just giving someone a raise and so much vacation? I don't know.
because I just remember 10 and 15 years. 15 years in the business, 10 years here. So I think before we even do anything, that we need clarification. I mean, we can get possibly first reading tonight and just get Mr. Pedro back here just to clarify that. But I do understand a 20S or 21S, that, yeah, that's a different classification, a different position versus, 14 or 15. So, all right, thank you.
Councilman Gregg?
I was just asking if there's anybody from city administration that can clarify. I know Mr. Pedro is not here this evening, but if anybody else from city administration can clarify, perhaps we can handle it tonight. it appears Mrs. Kataji's Boron can enlighten us.
I should have waited for you to call me up. I'm sorry about that. Good evening, Council. I can clarify half of that for you. I do not know how many weeks of vacation he has. When you do move within a grade, I call it a grade level it's a classification. You don't necessarily get the vacation time that comes with that. That is an option that can be granted, but the payout at the end when you leave is on any unused vacation that you may have had and on your sick time that you've accumulated. So your sick time is really the basis of what your payout is when you leave, and that's for anybody, and you accumulate, I think, 4.6 hours of pay, so that's where those payouts come from, basically. Okay, does that help a little bit? Okay.
Councilman Craig.
And I do recall Mr. Pedro saying that this individual was given additional years of service. Now, I'm not 100% sure what the number was. I thought he was at 30 now, but I'm not sure on that.
Well, I believe he might be at 30 now. I'd have to go back and verify that. Didn't bring that information, but I'm not so sure that is where that he's going on the scale from 20 to 21. So that would be something that Steve would need to answer.
Okay.
Any further questions? Yes, Councilman Lewis.
I would just add that when we did ask Steve last week, it is only a $6,000 a year bump in pay, going from the 13 or 14 to the 20. So that would be based off of what I understand his pay to be. It'd be about 10 to 12% increase. So if he were to cash out any unused time, it would only be 10 to 12% more than what it would have been prior to this, based off my
Baker?
estimates.
You want to speak?
Well, I can tell you what Steve said.
Come on. You're okay.
Is that okay?
Sure.
I'd like to call forward the Safety Service Director, if that's...
Thank you. So based on what Steve is telling me, he will start his 10th year in 2025, so his vacation will increase due to his time with the city. So his vacation is only based on his time with the city. So his vacation will not increase because,
Perfect, that's
Great.
Thanks.
Councilman Gregg?
Does that clarify enough for everybody? Okay, seeing no further questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, I move that we waive the rule requiring 3 readings and bring ordinance number 119, 2024 forward for a vote.
Second? Councilman Harwick Smith? Roll call for suspension, please.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Harwick Smith,
Yes,
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Packley,
Yes.
Brian Huth,
Yes.
and Creamer.
Yes.
8 yes for suspension.
And for passage, please.
Gregg,
Yes.
Harwick Smith,
yes,
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Packley,
Yes.
Brian Huth, Creamer,
Yes.
and Cunningham.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 119-2024 has passed. Ordinance number 120-2024.
An ordinance making certain appropriations from the unappropriated balance of the 3107 Fire Damages Structures Fund for the year ending December 31st, 2024, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis?
Yes, as discussed, these are funds that pass through the city. When there is a fire in the city, insurance pays into the city until repairs are made, and then we release the money back. And that is what this appropriation is doing. Are there any questions or discussion this evening? Seeing none, I make a motion that we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, bring ordinance number 120-2024 forward for a vote.
Second by Councilman Lombardi. Roll call for suspension, please.
Harwick Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Hackley,
Yes.
Brian Huth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
and Gregg.
Yes.
8 yes for suspension.
And for passage, please.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Hackley,
Yes.
Brian Huth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
and Harwick Smith.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 120-2024 has passed. Ordinance number 121-2024.
An ordinance making certain appropriations from the unappropriated balance of the 1100 General Fund for the purpose to pay school district revenue sharing for the year ending December 31st, 2024, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis.
Yes, this ordinance is to appropriate $37,400 and is for the purpose of sharing the revenues that we give to the school district based off of tax collections. It is something we do every year. Are there any questions or discussion this evening? Seeing none, I make a motion, we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, bring ordinance number 121-2024 forward for a vote.
Second by Councilman Gregg. Roll call for suspension, please.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Hackley,
Yes.
Brian Huth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Harwick Smith,
Yes.
and Lewis.
Yes.
8 yes for suspension.
And for passage, please.
Hackley,
Yes.
Brian Huth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Harwick Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
and Lombardi.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 121-2024 has passed. Ordinance number 122-2024.
An ordinance reducing the appropriations within the 1409 Municipal Road Fund, the 3109 TIF Service Payment Fund, and the 3110 Massillon Museum Fund for the year ending December 31st, 2024, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis.
Yes, this is an ordinance reducing the appropriations in the named accounts so that we can zero them out for end of year. Are there any questions or discussions this evening? Seeing none, I make a motion, we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, bring ordinance number 122-2024 forward for a vote.
Second by Councilman Lombardi. Roll call for suspension, please.
Brian Huth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Harwick Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
and Packley.
Yes.
8 yes for suspension.
And for passage, please.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Harwick Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Hackley,
Yes.
and Brian Huth.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 122-2024 has passed. Ordinance number 123-2024.
An ordinance authorizing the auditor, the mayor, and the president of the Health Department Board of the City of Massillon, Ohio, to enter into contracts with Local Government Services, LGS, to compile the basic financial statements for the City of Massillon and the City of Massillon Health Department for the financial year ending December 31st, 2024, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis.
Yes, we have to compile these financial statements every year. We are using local government services, which is essentially the state, in order to do so, but we do have to pass an ordinance to give the permission to do so. Are there any questions or discussion this evening? Seeing none, I make a motion, we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, bringing ordinance number 123-2024 forward for a vote.
Second by Councilman Lombardi. Roll call for suspension, please.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Harwick Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Hackley,
Yes.
Brian Huth,
Yes.
and Creamer.
Yes.
8 yes for suspension.
And for passage, please.
Gregg,
Yes.
Harwick Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Hackley,
Yes.
Brian Huth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
and Cunningham.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 123-2024 has passed. Item number 8, unfinished business. Item number 9, petitions and general communications.
I have nothing this evening.
Item number 10, bills, accounts, and claims.
Yes, we have a bill in the amount of $475.92 payable to Local I, Ohio Gannett, for the publication of our September ordinances and a publication of a public hearing. We have a bill in the amount of $75.23 payable to Visual Edge IT, which is for the overage charge from August 2024 to November of 2024, for a total of $551.15.
Councilman Lewis,
Make a motion to pay the bills.
second by Councilman Gregg. Roll call, please.
Hardwick Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Hackley,
Yes.
Ryan Huth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
and Gregg.
Yes.
8 yes to pay the bills.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The clerk will pay the bills and charge them to the proper accounts. Item number 11, reports from city officials.
Yes, we have the treasurer's report for October 2024 and the mayor's report for October 2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 12, reports of committees. Our next work session will be Monday, December the 9th, 2024, at 6:30 PM. There will be a Health, Welfare, and Buildings Regulations Committee meeting at 5:30 PM here in the council chambers prior to the work session. Item number 13, resolutions and requests of council members. Councilman Lewis.
I'd like to request, if possible, for Diane, that bill that we get for the copier that we've been talking about, getting legislation drafted. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
If we could possibly, if you would be able to work with the law department this week and maybe get something on our agenda for a request of legislation where we'd be able to make it so that you would have the authority to pay that bill when it comes in throughout the course of the year. Does that make sense what I'm requesting?
Yes, sir.
I just don't want us to forget and then the bill come again and us be in that same position.
Okay.
But it seems simple enough. Is the rest of council tracking what I'm asking for?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Councilman Gregg.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Sure.
Just want to give a shout out to the 2024 Massillon Tiger football team on a fine season. It ended sooner than they would have liked, but they represented themselves, their team, and their school and their families and the community in a fine fashion this year. So good luck to the seniors that'll be departing. Many of them will be playing at the next level, and we just look forward to the 2025 campaign. Go Tigers, beat McKinley. Thank you.
Item number 14, call of the calendar. Item number 15, third reading ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 104-2024.
An ordinance amending sections Part 9, Streets, Utilities, and Public Services Code under Chapter 937 Wastewater Treatment Revenue Fund of the codified ordinances of the City of Massillon, Ohio, pertaining to the proposed rate increases and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Brian Huth.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have spent several sessions discussing this. So this is the wastewater treatment revenue fund ordinance, so the sewer system specific. Does anyone have any further questions this evening? Seeing none, I'd like to bring this ordinance forward for a vote.
Second by Councilman Lewis. Roll call, please, for passage.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Hackley,
Abstain.
Ryan Huth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
and Hardwick Smith.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
7.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. 7 yes and 1 abstention for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 104-2024 has passed. Ordinance number 105-2024.
An ordinance amending Part 9, Streets, Utilities, and Public Services Code under Chapter 943, Stormwater Utility, Section 943.04, Stormwater Fee of the codified ordinances of the City of Massillon, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Brian Hoot.
Thank you, Mr. President. And this ordinance is to address the rates increase needed for the storm sewer specific. And again, we've spent much time discussing these issues. One of the considerations was that we move this to a 5-year, shortening it from a 10-year piece of legislation or a 10-year fee to a 5-year fee, and starting that 5-year fee at the $4.50 level. I think the one question I had for Chief Counsel Wise, if he's available, was if we amended the legislation this evening, could we then vote on it, or does it need to have something different done?
Up there.
Mr. White, either way, your choice.
No, Rule 25, the council rules, provides for 3 readings of ordinances unless otherwise ordered by the council. That's when we suspend rules on ordinances. That's what that's talking about. And then Rule 30 also talks about going through the process, and it goes for a first reading, and unless otherwise ordered by council, again, suspend the rules, then it goes to a second reading. Rule 30 talks about second reading, third reading. But no, if you amend the rules, I see nothing in council rules that prohibits council from amending the ordinance, and then on this same evening, if they wish, with 3/4 of council, which is 7 votes, suspend the rules and then pass it. I believe it's on an emergency basis.
It is not, it's at 3 readings.
Oh, okay.
But if it's amended, it would be at first reading. If I'm amending, it's at first reading then, so then yes.
So,
Councilman Lewis.
based off of what Attorney Wise is telling us, is if we amend tonight, it goes to first reading, even with the abstention that I believe Mr. Packley would give, the other remaining 7 would have to vote in favor of suspension, and we would be fine.
Understood. Thank you.
That's my understanding of the question, yes.
With that being clarified, I would like to move that we amend the ordinance.
Councilman
I'm
Creamer.
sorry, Councilman Creamer.
So I have a question. So with the proposed 10-year plan, it was stated that they were going to need 3 additional staff members, 2 permanent staff members and 1 possible contracted employee. If we amend the plan to 5 years, how will that impact staffing?
We could ask our city engineer, Alex Pitts, if he has any information on that. I know that by the amendment, they will be at their full rate now instead of later. So now instead of at 10 years. So those monies would be more available
The first 5 years.
for 5 years and then revised after that.
Yeah, that's.
Alex, do you have more to say on that?
Would there be an impact to your 3 additional staff members?
So I just want to ask a question. I hate to ask a question with a question, but what are we amending to change this to? Are we amending to change it to the 5-year rate at the $4.50 and it stay at the $4.50? Or are we amending it to $4.50 and then sunsetting it back? What is, because that makes a huge difference on my answer. So.
Councilman Lewis.
My recommendation would be to take it to the 450, and then that 450 cease as of December 31st of 2029, so sunsetting. But to clarify, at that time, council would be able to look at the effectiveness of the program, would be able to look at if there additional or alternative revenue streams have developed over those 5 years to see what would be the best route to fund the continuation of the programming. It's not a question of whether or not this is needed in our city. It is a question of what is the most appropriate and proper way to fund this. I brought up these issues because I know we call it a fee, but at the end of the day, it's an additional tax that we are putting on citizens. It is a tax that they do not have the opportunity to vote on. So by placing the 5-year window, it is placing the accountability on the city to make sure that we use it as effectively as we can, which I will say under the leadership of Mr. Pitts, I'm sure will be done. But it will also allow us the opportunity to look at alternative revenue streams from increased economic growth or whatever else may come about the city. And then that council can decide in 5 years if they want to continue on with this tax/fee or if they want to use alternative resources.
Any more questions?
Well, Mr. Pitts.
So I would like to add to that. So I'm hearing that it's a fee, it's a tax. Okay, but the thing is with storm sewer, it's no different than sanitary sewer. The only true difference is with sanitary, you are treating it. Storm, you are not. You're discharging it to the river. It's essentially clean water that's being discharged back into our environment. That's the only true difference. So in that sense, it's still a utility that is being supplied for our residents to protect their properties and health and welfare of their property. So it is still a utility service. It's no different. I mean, I went to a stormwater conference earlier this year, and that's how they've addressed it. Even the EPA has addressed it. It is a utility. It is a service. So I just wanted to make that very clear when we're talking about this being a tax or a fee. It's not, this isn't optional. We have to maintain our storm sewer system. There's no way around it. So.
And I think the concern was the longevity of staff.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right, Councilwoman Kramer?
Correct. If we, reduce it to 5 years,
Yeah. So.
how does that impact staffing? Because 3 additional staff members are going to be needed with this.
So there's 3 options regarding the staffing issue, not issue, but the staffing solution, we'll say. The first option, what was in the study, was based off of 3 employees. 1 to basically oversee the storm sewer system program, the preventative maintenance program, and then 2 employees to kind of be field personnel to go out and clean the storm sewer systems, camera them, basically do majority of the work, 95% of the work in-house with our internal staff. That was the first option. The second option, which is the option that I'm leaning more towards, is hiring 1 personnel to assist with catch basins and having that personnel work alongside with wastewater treatment department to clean out just the catch basins, inspect the catch basins. And then for the remaining, for the investigation of the pipes, that would be done under contract. So we would go out for bid, hire a contractor, receive sealed bids, and have it done that way. And then we would assess all of the investigation work and then plan our capital improvements that way. Now, if it's amended to where the fee is sunset, I would propose we hire no additional employees just because it's a risk on whoever would be hired, because that fund as it stands would not be able to support an additional employee. So it depends on what council is proposing to do tonight, but those are the 3 options.
Councilman Lewis.
I would also point out, and one of the reasons I'm thinking this way is currently, so with the stormwater, we can use other dollars to address these issues. And one of those dollars are our 1401, which is our capital improvement. We currently are sitting at a 93-7 split. Over the course of the next 5 years, through economic growth and strong fiscal management, which I believe we have in this city, you can move that dial to 91.9 or 92.8 or whatever. Every percentage that we move it is over $200,000 of additional funding that would go to capital improvement, which could assist in funding of the work being done. So that is why I was thinking this, is that there are means, we are in a situation where we could potentially do that. Now, in 5 years, if the fiscal picture is not looking that way, then that council can make that decision. I just know that when the street lighting fee was in existence, the amount of blowback we got from our citizens, and that was only $2 a month. And this is more than that. because it is viewed as an additional tax. And I hear you about the utility and the necessity of it, but so are streets. Streets are also a necessity in the city, and we had to go to the taxpayers to vote on that. So are many of the other services that we offer as a community, and those are all funded by taxes that are voted on by the citizens. So in this manner, when we go in front of our citizens and say, hey, we have an immediate need now, our excellent engineer has identified these issues we need to address now. So we're going to put this in place so that we can get to work and not wait. And in 5 years, we reevaluate. And if we continue to need that funding, we will provide it. If not, or if alternative resources exist, we will use those instead. That was my approach for the citizens of Massillon.
And to that, I would agree that my perspective for the 5-year, it was a shorter quantitative amount of time. You could reassess it later and know that the need was still going to be there, but maybe in that amount of time, knowing what is coming down the pipeline with hydrogen and all the other things, maybe there were other funds available. Not saying that it wouldn't be a necessity in 5 years, it will still be, but check where we are, how the work has progressed, and go from there.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I'm okay
Councilman
with
Howard-Smith.
reevaluating in 5 years. I mean, I understand the necessity. I don't like it. I know people aren't going to like it. But, I mean, we have lines that are close to 100 years old, some of them. And it's a huge issue in the city and around the country. And we need to still pursue grants and everything else, but we do need this additional funds, even if we get grants to get the match to get the funds. So I agree on the amount too. I'm okay with that. I mean, when you're talking an increase that's only 13 cents and we're so far behind, to just jump to it now, the 450, it'll bring in some funds, reevaluate in 5 years, and hopefully some of these businesses we have coming in will start bringing more money in, and we can decide what needs done at that point. You never know.
Thank you. Councilman Kramer?
I'm not in favor of the 5-year. The increases for the 10 years are very minimal for residents. If we do have a growth, an economic growth, that we have additional funds, we can look at this and we can hold it or hold that rate instead of increasing it every year, because we sat here and listened how the age of this system is old. We're finding problems throughout the city, and I'm in favor of being proactive, having the funds needed, and start correcting things here and now, instead of evaluating it in 5 years and depending on, extending it. If council approves it, we may not get approval, and where do we stand then? So I am not in favor of shortening the length. I'm in favor of following the plan for 5 years. 10 years. Thank you.
Any more questions? Councilman Cunningham?
Thank you, Mr. President. You weigh this back and forth, and again, our citizens keep getting hammered every which way, and I believe in the 5-year plan, and we can reevaluate it at that time, because remember, we soon will be having the streets levy come up again, and we're going to need our citizens to vote for that levy as well. So I'm in favor of the 5 years.
Councilman Lewis?
I guess I would make a motion that we amend ordinance number 105 from the current projected or proposed of increasing the rate to $4 a month in 2025 with 3% increases for the term and changing it to increasing the rate to $4.50 in 2025, and that will remain in effect until December 31st of 2029.
A second.
Second by Councilman Bryant Huth. Roll call to amend, please.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Packley,
Abstain.
Brian Huth,
Yes.
Creamer,
No.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
and Lewis.
Yes.
That would be 6 yes, 1 no, and 1 abstention to amend ordinance number 105-2024.
Okay. Roll call for passage.
I would like to make a motion to waive the rules requiring 3 readings and bringing the amended ordinance number 105, 2024 forward for a vote.
All right. Roll call for suspension, please. Actually, for passage, right? Third reading.
Suspension.
Suspension, because we amended it. You're right. Okay. Roll call for suspension, please.
Okay, 1 moment. Okay. Packley,
Abstain.
Brian Huth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
and Lombardi.
Yes.
7 yes, 1 abstention for suspension.
Roll call for passage, please.
Brian Huth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
and Packley.
Abstain.
7 yes, 1 abstention for passage.
Ordinance number 105-2024 has passed. Ordinance number 111-2024.
An ordinance to adopt appropriations for the operating and capital expenditures of the city of Massillon, Ohio for the fiscal year 2025 and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis?
Yes, we've had a lot of discussion about the budget over the past few weeks, but some recent discussions on some technicalities that we're trying to work out to make sure everything is squared away warrant us needing to take a couple more weeks. So with that said, I would ask that we table ordinance number 111-2024 until December 16th, 2024.
Second by Councilman Lombardi.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Packley,
Yes.
Brian Huth. 8 yes to table ordinance number 111-2024 until December 16th, 2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 16, item number 16, second reading of ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 117-2024.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon, Ohio, to enter into an agreement for a 1-year renewal with Medical Mutual of Ohio for health insurance coverage for city employees effective January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis?
Are there any additional questions or conversation this evening regarding this matter? Seeing none, I make a motion we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, bring ordinance number 117-2024 forward for a vote.
Second by Councilman Lombardi. Roll call for suspension, please.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Hardwick Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Hackley,
Yes.
Brian Huth,
Yes.
and Creamer.
Yes.
8 yes for suspension.
And for passage, please.
Gregg,
Yes.
Hardwick Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Hackley,
Yes.
Brian Huth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
and Cunningham.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 117-2024 has passed. Item number 17 on tonight's agenda, remarks of delegations and citizens to matters not on the agenda. Is there anyone present that would like to speak on a topic that did not appear on the agenda this evening? If so, please come forward, state your name, the ward you live in, the topic you wish to discuss, and please limit your comments 4 minutes or less. Anyone present like to speak at this time?
You have to excuse me, I'm a little feeble.
Oh, you're good.
I just got out of the hospital from an operation. My name is Bill Weaver. I own Victorian Reflection Flower Shop downtown in the middle of the destruction area. I'm pretty upset that nobody bothered to inform me or come to me and say, hey, we're going to shut your road down yet once again for this disastrous area, which is shutting my business down yet once again, and I'm going to lose my entire Christmas season of walk-in business. This is not fair to me. When they did the streetscape thing, we were told it was going to take 3 months. It took 11 months. My business was shut down for 11 months. I lost my entire life savings. My husband and I, we lost our life savings. We lost our business. We reopened for 4 months, and then COVID shut us down for 4 more months, and we could not survive. We lost $200,000 because we were lied to by the city of Massillon over the damn streetscape. Okay? So we closed the Sugar Bowl down. It was my life's dream to open that back up. The first week we were open, we did $8,000 in business. People loved it. They wanted to come in. Okay, so when we shut it down, we saved the candy counters. We moved them over to the flower shop where we across the street. We just made $3,000 worth of chocolates. We just got in $8,000 worth of Christmas things into our shop to sell for the Christmas season. What the hell am I supposed to do with it? Who's going to walk in to buy it? Nobody. Nobody can get to us. The only business we're going to get for Christmas are telephone orders. Nobody's going to come into our store. Nobody's been into our store since the fence went up outside. What are we supposed to do? How is the city going to compensate us? What are they going to do? I asked this question 3 years ago when Streetscape started, and the answer was, we're not going to do anything. When they shut us down to tear the other buildings down next door to us, which, by the way, did not need to be torn down, because there were architects and engineers on the back of the building trying to fix it and were told to get off of it. The city was going to tear it down. I was there. I saw it. My insurance company had to pay me for the orders that we lost. It was $16,000 they paid us. The leftover amount was $3,800. It was supposed to pay for all of our plants, all of our flowers, all of the food in our refrigerators, all of the stuff that had to that was perishable that was in our store. The city said they would pay for it. Dave Maley said, we'll pay you for it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. As soon as the election happened last November, everybody ran like mice. They scattered. The mayor left. Dave Maley left. Everybody downtown left. Not a damn soul stood up and paid me for that. Not a soul. It was $3,800. I turned in the bills. When the administration changed, I called everybody up and I said, who's going to take care of this now? And the answer to me was, did you get it in writing? Hell no, I didn't get it in writing. And nobody has paid us yet. Not a soul. I helped elect this administration, and I'm sorry I did. Because I'm fearful we're going to lose this business now too. Because we're going to finish the year in the toilet. Because we're not going to have any business coming into our store. What are we supposed to do? How is the city going to help us downtown? What are they going to do? You know, even at night when the street is empty, there's no construction people working after 4 o'clock. They could open the Lincoln Way back up. There's no reason to have it blocked off at night. Take the damn barricades down. Let traffic go through. People can get to us. We could afford to stay open a little bit later, maybe, and maybe get a little bit of business. Smiley's could get a little bit of business. The steakhouse could get a little business. You know, Bender's, Doherty's, they have a back parking lot. We don't. Our business is a lot of seniors. Seniors can't walk. I can't walk, for God's sakes. Who's going to walk blocks to get to my store to buy a pound of candy or a pound of nuts or a Santa Claus or something out of our store? Nobody. Where is the help for us downtown? There's never been any help for us downtown. We're like the bastard stepchildren of Massillon. And nobody's coming forth to say anything to us. I would just like somebody to think about us and see what they can do to help us downtown. Because right now, I don't see an end to this at all. I don't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill, could you sign the sign-in sheet for me? I know who you are, but could you sign it for me? Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none. Councilwoman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adjourn.
Second by Councilman Lewis. Roll call, please.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Packley,
Yes.
Brian Hoot,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
and Gregg.
Yes.
8 yes to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.